Welcome back, agents, to Further Right with Blake Kresses, the show where I, Blake Kresses, attempt to bring you further to the right. Do not circumcise your kids. Under no circumstances should you circumcise your kids. I know, this is going to be a weirder video than usual, but this is, in my opinion, an extremely important topic, and I implore you to hear me out on this. Took me a while to red pill the boys on this subject, but I got through to them, and I will get through to you. Hopefully without being too vulgar. Probably not going to be a lot of pictures or graphics up behind me in this video, but anyways, let's get into it. Circumcision is a brutal, unnecessary, destructive, and mutilative procedure that should be equated to the practice of female circumcision in terms of our societal disgust. Now, if you're circumcised, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm in the same boat as all of you, but I'm telling you now to not allow the trend to continue in your family. First, let's talk about what circumcision is. This is the removal of the foreskin from a baby boy, which takes place usually immediately after birth or a few days later during a ceremony called the bris. The practice is most commonly attributed to Jewish culture, as in the Bible, the sons of Israel were commanded to be circumcised as a sign of the covenant with God. This ritual continues to this day and has been adopted by all sorts of cultures around the world. Now, my fellow Christians in the audience, you may be under the impression that this procedure is commanded of you by God, but this is false, as the coming of Jesus was the fulfillment of the first covenant, and Jesus never says that circumcision is required among his followers. Now, to my Jewish friends watching, if you feel that this is necessary, you do you, but I'm going to implore you to accept Jesus Christ into your heart. Now, we as conservatives are against most every form of body mutilation. We're against the brutal procedures associated with transgenderism involving the total removal of sexual organs, and we should extend this disdain towards partial mutilation as well. We were all given our bodies by and in the image of our Creator, and they are not to be unnecessarily altered. There is no good reason to circumcise your child. One excuse many give in favor of circumcision is that it is cleaner and more sanitary, but this is a total cope for lazy parents who are trying to avoid a 2-minute conversation about proper hygiene procedures for their child. Some say that being circumcised lowers your chances of contracting AIDS or other sexually transmitted diseases. There are studies out there claiming a reduction of up to 50%. When put into practice, however, this conclusion basically falls apart. Circumcision is far more widespread in America than it is in Europe, yet rates of STDs and AIDS are far higher in the US as well. But this again is a very easy issue to avoid. If you don't want STDs, don't have unprotected promiscuous sex. And if you don't want AIDS, then don't have gay anal sex. It's so simple. Now, let's talk about circumcision's effect on the children themselves. Circumcision dramatically increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, in babies for up to 6 months after they are born while the wound is still healing. This negatively affects a mother's ability to nurture, nurse, and interact with her newborn child. Some studies show that circumcision also negatively impacts social understanding even in adults. Just think about it. Your child's first experience in this world is getting the most sensitive part of his body chopped off. What does this say about how we treat masculinity in our modern world? The very first thing that a boy experiences is the mutilation of his primary identifying trait as a man. But I digress. Back on the topic of sensitivity, the male foreskin aids tremendously in sexual pleasure. There are tons of nerves that are removed during a circumcision that enhance the sexual experience. We were meant to experience sex in a very specific way. And when circumcised, we are robbed of what should truly be considered a God-given gift. Now look, circumcisions heal. Circumcised men go on to lead normal lives. It's really not the end of the world, but that's when everything goes right. There is an albeit small but significant amount of circumcisions that can go terribly wrong and lead to absolutely disastrous results. Some victims can have larger than intended portions of their anatomy cut off, entire halves of the male genitalia being removed in some cases. It's horrifying, and it happens honestly more often than you would think. The travesty known as gender theory that we have today and the accompanying transgenderism is actually the result of a botched circumcision in which one of 2 twin boys had their genitalia completely removed. The boys were then used as an experiment by Dr. John Money, where the unlucky boy was raised as a girl, inevitably resulting in both the children committing suicide as adults due to the abuse that they were put under. And now, for some reason, society believes that men can be women and vice versa. You don't want that to be your kid. All that could have been avoided if circumcision wasn't so normalized. Better safe than sorry, especially when it comes to a completely unnecessary procedure. Keep your child as God intended him. He's perfect the way he is. Now, one more thing that I'll address before we wrap up here is this idea that your kid is going to be made fun of in the locker room at school for being uncircumcised. All I have to say to that is your kid is the one who should be laughing at all the circumcised dudes because they're the ones that got their foreskin stolen. Losers. But anyways, Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this was a thought-provoking video and that I made you decide against mutilating your future newborn children. Everybody, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, follow us on Instagram, and join our Patreon, where for only $8 a month, you will receive early access to our content before it's available on YouTube. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.